Hit record. Um, just like the last lesson, today's lecture is going to be based on just basic concepts. Once I'm finished with this, then you will be given a tutorial and directed to a video lesson that you can do afterwards and follow along. Either way, they cover exactly the same information. We're going to move into torsos today. Most of you guys should have your heads pretty well complete at this point as far as timing goes. It doesn't have to be, it's not that critical. Once we attach the heads and the torsos together, of course, then you'll be continuing to optimize that head as it sits there. Today I'm going to show you a couple of different methodologies to model a torso. I'll start off using the box modeling method, which is, again, the standard of game design. I'll show you how to lay out the structure for that and get started using box modeling and show you some of the different tools and things that we're going to look at. Along the way, we will also incorporate some of the concepts we learned about last week when we talked about surface topology and the way that the mechanics work of a character. So we take into account animation. Things like the way a character is going to move and bend and so on, where the vertices are placed for that type of stuff. And then along the way, after I'm done showing you the box modeling method, one of the things I'll also be doing is going over a custom method. It's considered somewhat controversial. We'll talk about it when we get to that point. It's controversial as far as game design goes, though. If you don't know how to wield it, it can get out of hand and create very high poly models. However, if you do know what you're doing, and it's one of the things that I'm very proud of because it's a process that I developed. And through you guys, I'm actually promoting it into the industry. Hopefully it becomes a standard over time, but I think you'll find it very powerful as it lends itself both in high and low poly modeling. How many of you guys have heard of normal mapping before? None of you guys? Okay. That's something I'll mention to you just by concept. Next quarter you'll actually be doing that as a part of the function. So just to start off here today, I'm going to open up a file here. And in your week 8 folder, you will find a file that says torso start.max, and this is what it looks like. The reference planes are already set up for you. No, I want you to do the tutorial at your own speed. I'll just go through the concepts. I used to walk the classes through this lecture of the whole thing, but to be honest with you, it took 3.5 to 4 hours to do. It's just too difficult to do it in that manner. Since then, I've written the tutorial and made the video tutorial for people to follow along with instead. So believe it or not, I've actually expanded the lecture because now I cover the concepts too, which I do live, and I'm recording right now. And then from there, I'll let you guys just go off on your own. Actually, we can get more information down that way. Okay, so starting off with box modeling. Of course, we don't have to start with a box shape. Some people do, like Pete. He prefers to start with a simple box and model from there. Some people I know of will start with a basic cylinder. I guess when it comes to box modeling a character's torso, that would probably be what I would prefer. And I'm just going to take this torso or this cylinder here and move it up and set it about at the bottom of his pelvis, which is in the groin area. And just to set up the model, I'll go to Object Properties and make it see-through, so I can see what I'm working on and make some adjustments to this. And let's go ahead and make this a little taller. Now, one of the things we want to do, and I'll show you an image here, is we want to basically, just like all of our other projects that we worked on, we want to identify the main landmarks on the bodies or the contour shapes that we're going to be following along, so we can block out our character in a figurative manner. So let me just find a picture here. Which one is it? One of these, and it is in the tutorial as such. Can't remember which picture it is now. Here we go. This will do. Oops. Oh, I closed it. Number 2. Okay, and let me just blow this up here a little bit so you can see this. And if you look up here in the side view, what I've done is I've gone along and I've identified the major landmarks, starting with his neck. Now some people will model the neck as a part of the torso, some will model it as a part of the head, it depends. In this case we will be using that as a part of the torso. So starting at the neck, we would consider that the cutoff line. He's got an Adam's apple there and also a kink in the back of his neck right there for bending purposes. We also have one major landmark at the bottom of the neck area, and then we go from about the front of the collarbone to the beginning of the back of the shoulder blade. And then from here we can go from the major pectoral muscle in the front all the way to his back here along the lower part of the shoulder blade. And we've got one other one that makes up the lower part of the pec muscle, and that we'll just bring that right back also. And I know you can't see this, but this curves in right here on his body. And so at the beginning of that curvature, we can start that above the rib cage and run it to the what's called the small of the back, basically. We've got a couple more that we can identify in here also that isn't on this particular drawing. I wonder which. I'm looking for a different drawing, but anyway, this will do. And so we've also got one that comes down behind his gluteus maximus, or his rear end, if you will. Then last but not least, we've got the ending down here also. Basically, you're going to end up with about 6 segments. So based on that thinking, we can go ahead and change our height segments to 6, which I've already done here. As far as sides go, you can see that this is pretty rounded for the most part. I don't need that much detail. As a matter of fact, I prefer not to. So I'm going to reduce the sides down to, say, 6. Yeah, we'll go with 6, I guess. Let's go with 8. Yeah, we'll go with 8. And I'm going to add an edit poly here and go into vertex mode. And just select these vertices on the right hand side and delete them. Now the reason why I'm doing that is so that I can just simply mirror this half of the body off. So now that I've got half of this, all I need to do is go into either the left or the front viewport first. And I'll go ahead and start in the left view. And I just want to move all these vertices basically horizontally. So I'm just going to move these in. Something like that. I'll grab this middle one also. And set that up. Now in this case, I'm not going to actually model the neck as a part of this. But I will do the lower part of the body here. You can also use like the scale tool if you want to do them all at once and taper them down. And I'm just going to take a bunch of these here and just scale them down just so I can move them out of the way temporarily. So I'm just going to set them down here as I work. So running across the shoulder blade area, I can set this up. I can also, like I said, use my scale tool. Kind of scale them in. Place them in rough alignment and continue either scaling or even rotating. I can rotate the whole group of vertices. Grab my next row of vertices. And I'll probably move those up to about there. And I'll use my rotate again. Something like that. And of course I can always just grab the individual vertice if I need to, like in the back here, move that out. Take that one, move that in slightly right there. And move that one down. Like that. We'll just take our next row here and move that up. And I'll use my rotate again. And you'll notice that this starts to follow the major contours, again, allowing for topology. So using this method, you can definitely set your model up appropriately. Do another one here. that. And I can grab these two vertices back here, kind of move those in. Grab that one also, move that in just to clean it up a little bit. Now, as you can see here, I probably don't have enough segments for my grouping that I want to do, but that's alright because I can use my cut tool very easily because I'm using Edit Poly. Set that in for his back here. And I can also, if I want, rather than even using my cut tool, for example, go ahead and rotate this one down. Yep, I can extrude it exactly. That depends on my mood. Really don't have a preference, I guess. In this case, we'll go into edge mode, select the lower edges here, and deselect the other ones, and just do an extrude. A couple more, and that should do just fine. Take this, make that up for the lower portion. And we'll just move these into place. So this is very quick and dirty, but for the most part, once I get these aligned, like I said, I can either cut more detail in here wherever I need it. And then we'll switch to a front view here. And we'll just basically do the same thing, starting with like these outer vertices. We'll take like this one. And these are going to actually be moved in, starting the taper. I can even rotate those a little bit. And just move these out too. Something like that. So as you can see, you can get started very quickly. You can put a symmetry modifier on here. And I'll go ahead and move that symmetry location, move the mirror so it's on the other side. And I'll say flip. Something like that. For me, no. So as you can see here, I've got it somewhat roughed out. I've got my contours going in the direction that I need it to. If I need to start adding detail, I can just simply use my cut tool. And I'll go ahead and do that here in the front view. And I'll just right click under Edit Poly and choose Cut from the quad menu. And if you start it like the top one, You can just drag it all the way down to the bottom and it will add detail in there. So then you can grab like these vertices. Oops. And make sure I don't have the back grabbed. And I can pull those in slightly to create a chest area. As you can see from the top view here, I can add some detail in like that. And continue with my modeling process up in the neck area and so on and so forth. So this is a quick and easy way of modeling. You can get started with your models.